In 1991, police officers entered a small apartment in Milwaukee after a terrified young man escaped into the street wearing handcuffs. At first, it looked like a normal arrest, but seconds later, one officer opened a drawer and suddenly froze in shock. Inside were dozens of Polaroid photographs showing horrifying scenes that immediately revealed something deeply disturbing was happening inside the apartment. The air smelled of chemicals and decay. A large blue barrel sat silently in the corner of the room, and standing calmly beside the officers was a quiet man wearing glasses named Jeffrey Dahmer. The officers quickly realized they had entered the home of one of the most terrifying serial killers in American history. What they discovered inside Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment would horrify the entire world. Because behind the appearance of a shy and ordinary neighbor was a man hiding unimaginable darkness. This is the chilling story of Jeffrey Dahmer, the monster who hid in plain sight. Before we continue, comment below and tell me, do you think monsters are born evil or created over time? And if you enjoy dark crime documentaries like this, make sure you subscribe for more disturbing true crime stories every week. Jeffrey Dahmer was born in 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, before his family later moved to Ohio. As a child, Dahmer appeared quiet, withdrawn, and socially awkward. Neighbors described him as polite but strange. Even from an early age, Jeffrey Dahmer showed disturbing behavior that worried people around him. He developed a fascination with dead animals and often collected roadkill from the side of the road. He would examine animal bodies for hours, becoming obsessed with death and anatomy. As Dahmer grew older, his isolation became worse. He struggled to connect with other people emotionally and spent most of his time alone. Classmates later described Jeffrey Dahmer as disconnected from reality, often acting strangely to get attention while hiding serious emotional problems beneath the surface. By his teenage years, alcohol had already become a major part of his life. Some classmates even claimed he brought alcohol to school and drank during class. But despite all the warning signs, nobody imagined Jeffrey Dahmer would later become one of the world's most infamous serial killers. In 1978, shortly after graduating high school, Dahmer committed his first murder. His victim was an 18-year-old hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks. After picking him up and bringing him home, Dahmer killed him during an argument and hid the crime from everyone around him. The murder remained undiscovered for years. And because Jeffrey Dahmer escaped punishment, his dark fantasies continued growing stronger. Over the next several years, Dahmer struggled to maintain a normal life. He joined the army for a short period, but was later discharged because of his alcohol abuse. He moved between cities, lived with relatives, and worked small jobs while secretly battling disturbing obsessions inside his mind. To most people, Jeffrey Dahmer appeared harmless, quiet, shy, almost invisible. But underneath that calm appearance was a predator, carefully hiding his crimes from the world. By the late 1980s, Jeffrey Dahmer had begun targeting young men in Milwaukee. He often approached victims at malls, bus stations, bars, and clubs, offering them money in exchange for company or photographs. Because Dahmer looked ordinary and soft-spoken, many people trusted him immediately. That false sense of safety became one of the deadliest parts of the Jeffrey Dahmer case. Inside his apartment, Dahmer committed crimes that shocked investigators and psychologists alike. Yet somehow, he continued avoiding capture. Neighbors constantly complained about horrible smells coming from Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment. Some believed rotten meat or chemicals were causing the odor. Others reported hearing strange sounds late at night. But despite the complaints, no serious action was taken for a long time. One of the most disturbing moments in the Jeffrey Dahmer story happened in 1991. A 14-year-old boy managed to escape Dahmer's apartment and ran into the street, confused and terrified. Two women immediately called police after seeing the child injured and distressed. When officers arrived, Jeffrey Dahmer calmly convinced them that the boy was simply his adult boyfriend and that the situation was just a misunderstanding between lovers. Despite obvious warning signs, police believed Dahmer and returned the victim back to the apartment. Less than an hour later, the boy was dead. That moment later became one of the biggest police failures connected to the Jeffrey Dahmer investigation. Many people still believe lives could have been saved if the warnings had been taken seriously earlier. But just months later, everything finally fell apart for Jeffrey Dahmer. On July 22, 1991, another intended victim escaped from Dahmer's apartment while still wearing handcuffs. This time, police entered the apartment to investigate further. And within moments, they realized they had stepped into a nightmare. The Polaroid photographs found inside Jeffrey Dahmer's drawer immediately exposed the horrifying truth. Further searches uncovered evidence connected to multiple murders. Investigators discovered human remains, skulls, and disturbing materials hidden throughout the apartment. The entire country was horrified by the Jeffrey Dahmer case. News stations across America covered the story non-stop. People struggled to understand how a man who looked so normal could secretly live such a dark double life for years without being stopped. Psychologists became fascinated by Jeffrey Dahmer's personality and behavior. Unlike many violent criminals, Dahmer often appeared calm, emotionless, and strangely cooperative during interviews with investigators. He openly confessed to many of his crimes after his arrest, shocking the public even further. Experts debated what created the monster known as Jeffrey Dahmer. Some believed his childhood isolation and emotional disconnection played a major role. Others argued that early warning signs were ignored for too long. The Jeffrey Dahmer case also raised serious questions about law enforcement failures and public awareness. Many people believe some victims might still be alive today if earlier complaints had been investigated more carefully. In 1992, Jeffrey Dahmer was sentenced to multiple life terms in prison. But for the families of the victims, no sentence could erase the pain caused by his crimes. Even decades later, the name Jeffrey Dahmer continues haunting people around the world. Documentaries, books, and interviews still explore how an ordinary-looking man became one of America's most terrifying serial killers. Because perhaps the scariest part of the Jeffrey Dahmer story is this: evil did not look like a monster. It looked normal. A quiet neighbor, a shy man wearing glasses. Some people passed every single day without fear. And that is exactly why the story of Jeffrey Dahmer continues terrifying the world decades later. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Comment below with your thoughts on the Jeffrey Dahmer case and tell me which serial killer documentary you want to see next. And if you enjoy true crime documentaries, dark psychology stories, and disturbing real-life mysteries, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next story. Because the next case might be even more terrifying than Jeffrey Dahmer.